Syria was torn apart by a civil war between 2011 and 2020. And then the fighting froze in 2020. On the 27th of November, just last week, fighting has resumed, with Syrian rebels advancing into territories held by President Bashar al-Assad's forces. But why is Syria in flames once again? Joining me to discuss this are General Sanjay Meston, Syrian-born journalist Dr. Wael Awad, and my colleague Deepak Badana stays on with me in the studio. Gentlemen, welcome to the News9 Plus show. Dr. Awad, I want to start by asking you this. Since you've been monitoring the war in your home country very closely, what's going on there right now? Why did this war start all of a sudden after a 4-year gap? And what is the state of the government forces right now?
Oh, thank you very much, Sandeep. The issue here is very clear that it is part of the American project in the region, Clean and Break, 1995, changing regime by force, 2011, after the Arab Spring started in the Arab world. Syria was also, the people of Syria wanted a change, they want the political reforms, and we all understand their demand, and then suddenly hijacked by the terrorist organization Daesh and Al-Qaeda, which are two terrorist organizations, has been recognized by the United Nations, actually. And then we realized that the ambition of the de facto Khalifa Erdogan continued in the eyeing Syria and also Iraq. So we know that he's eyeing Mosul, he's eyeing Aleppo, he's eyeing Idlib, northern part of Syria for years, and even he supported, he funded a state-sponsored terrorism. We all know the infrastructure of Turkey turned out to be Pakistan in the making. During the 2011, we had 137,000 terrorists from 83 countries. So all these terrorist organizations continue to be active in Syria. In fact, even till they reached to the agreement when the Syrian government defeated them and liberated Aleppo and most part of the northern Syria till Idlib, the northeastern part were still under the Turkish occupation. And after that, Turkey gave custody to more than 55,000 terrorists, and they are all 31 jihadists, Takfiri, Al-Qaeda, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. All these are terrorist organizations affiliated to first to Daesh, then to Al-Qaeda. Then they changed their clothes to make look more modern, trim their beard, and to make them called that they are the modern Syrian rebels. We don't have rebels, we don't have a civil war. We have Uzbek, we have Uyghur, we have Turk, we have Tajik. All of them are fighting in Syria for no reason but to destabilize, because Israel failed in Gaza, failed in Lebanon, and Netanyahu sent a stern warning to Syrian president 26 November, and he met his intelligence, met in Turkey with the Turkish intelligence, and they launched on the 29th on Aleppo with the sleeping cell and with 30,000 armed terrorists who have moved out of Idlib with all the guns, with all the ammunition, with the drones, with the maps. And we all know that this is a terrorist activity, nothing to do with the Syrian war or a civil war.
It's a terrorist activity, nothing to do with the civil war in Syria that's been on from 2011. But General Meston joins us now. He's been posted in the region for several years. General Meston, tell us why this conflict now in Syria. Is it because President Assad's key allies, the Russian Federation and Iran, are involved in wars of their own and therefore they can't step in and support him, which seems to be this vacuum that's been caused, and all of these armies that Dr. Awad just mentioned have stepped into this vacuum?
Yeah, absolutely, Sandeep. There are various perspectives to the Syrian crisis. I think to start with, I would put it in a very different way. I think it is the first and foremost aspect any nation wants is good governance. And I think that is the start point, the governance. Now, the Ba'athist party has been in rule since last 54 years. Earlier, his father was there, and now he himself has been there for 24 years. So there has been continuous, and it's a more kind of a police kind of a state or an autocratic state. Therefore, in any system, when there is continuous governance and where repressive means are used, obviously there are calls for democracy, and I think there were a large number of calls for democratic movement. And therefore 2011 happened, and why it happened, that's a separate debate. But the fact of the matter is the start point is the governance. Because of that, when the Syrian crisis happened in 2011, many state and non-state actors and so-called
Yes.
rebels came into the fray, and as highlighted by the predecessor also, large number of them today are there. And
Right.
now, if I put more bluntly, this area of Syria is a battle of influence,
Right.
or the sphere of influence
Yes.
between the West, and obviously Israel is part of them, and between the autocratic and other kind of states, which includes Russia, Iran, and so forth.
Right.
Now, this is a battle of influence, or the sphere of influence, which has been going on.
Yes.
Now, each side is claiming the other as a terrorist group.
Yes.
So I would put it, let's put it in two ways. One is the regime, the government regime, and the other is the opposition, now, which has been called as rebels and strongholds. And because of
Yes.
that, also the ISI was created, then ISIL was created,
Right.
and thereafter various other factions from them emerged, and of course the Kurdish rebels are there. So large number of factions are there today fighting for areas of influence,
Right.
and basic intent being it is a larger battle between the West, the liberal or the democratic forces, and on the other side it is autocratic and the dictatorial kind of rulers. Now,
Right. Right.
this is becoming a global phenomenon. In
Yes.
fact, either side feels threatened. You know, the autocratic rulers feel threatened. Look at Georgia, what is happening.
Yes.
The liberalism and democratic should not move close by. Look at South Korea. He
Right.
felt assured, so therefore he announced the martial law. So this is a global trend happening, and each side feels threatened. So
Right.
this is the large picture.
Absolutely. It's a global trend, and Syria seems to be the proxy battleground. As you can see, this country of Syria, one of the largest countries in West Asia, is now literally torn apart by various groups from, the HTS to Turkish-supported rebels to, Syrian Arab army forces, insurgent forces. I mean, it's hard to make, sense of Syria, whether it's still a functional country anymore. The kind of proxy wars that are being fought here since 2011. Dr. Awad, what is the future of Syria going to be like? Is this going to continue the way it is? One side, like this, a ping pong ball match, every few years there's going to be a lull, and then there'll be a resurgence in fighting, which is what a lot of people tend to call frozen conflicts, which then, are unfrozen, there's fighting, and then they go back to the freezer again. Can Syria ever exist as a united country as it was pre-2011?
Well, I think, Sandeep, I will look into the issues from 10,000 of years. Syria survived 10,000 years of civilization. We can survive any sort of atrocities imposed on us. But I would agree with the general what he said, except for the point that it's a democratic forces against autocratic regime. Let me tell you about the autocracy of our Syrian government. The Syrian government have given a free education compulsory for the children. Even if you have a child between the age 5 to 7, you don't send him to school. Till date, you will be sent, both the parents will go to jail.
Yes.
This is one. Free medication, subsidized food, everything security was given. Prior to 2011, the Syrian was very much, have no debt to IMF, no debt to World Bank. We have self-reliance, we were totally independent, and we are part of the geopolitical issues. Yes, I agree. But when you have some neighbor, like who is Turkey, are already eyeing your cities and already teaching with their syllabus, the Turkish syllabus in Idlib, and their money, everything is Turkish. And now the flag of Turkey is flying over the castle of Aleppo. It's exactly, you will understand that this NATO stooge is trying to break up Syria, and breaking up Syria under the pretext of the Kurdish forces liberation, which the Americans support, by the way, in the northern western part, where still they are having, according to UN agencies, and we said it in your channel some time back, more than 55,000 Daesh terrorists. They sent 10,000 of them to Afghanistan. So let us look from the terrorism that they have been using it as a tool to achieve their political objective, those democratic states, which we call them democratic. If that is the democracy, I don't want this democracy. I want security. I want my children to be safe in my hometown. I want them to live happily. And we will aspire to have a good governance in Syria, to change. But when you have these Salafist, this Takfiri, these extreme medieval age forces coming to destroy my country, no, I do not want them. I am ready to fight against them with tooth and my fingers, not to let them touch my country or touch one of my country people. That is what I'm saying. America is playing the spoiled in the region. America using its proxy Israel to destroy, to destabilize Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, and they wanted a greater Israel. We know that. Biden is also having illegal 14 military bases in Syria, illegally occupying Syrian territories to block the passage from Iran to Iraq, to Syria, to Lebanon, because that is what to safeguard Israel interest. One. The second part is Trump, when he was prior to his election, he was saying he wanted to pull the American troops from the region. When he was saying like this, then this war started on Syria because of the failure in Lebanon and on Gaza. Why? Because there, when you revive terrorism, there is a legitimacy for the U.S. troop to stay back. And that is one. Ukraine war, in the similar fashion he's doing. What he did by allowing the ballistic missile to attack deep in Russia is exactly to make it more complicated for Trump to pull or to stop the war.
Right, absolutely. Thank you very much, Dr. Wael. Wheels within wheels in Syria, and that war cannot be seen, by itself. It's a proxy war, and it's being fought by major powers there. Some who, as our panelists have mentioned, want to rebuild their empires, and this is the unhappy situation that we're witnessing in Syria. And unfortunately, Deepak, and this is what we've seen in 2014, that this vacuum was occupied by ISIS, the guerrilla, a terrorist organization that controlled the maximum number of territory, and it actually administered a country that it had bitten off from Iraq and Syria. And of course, that situation cannot be come to pass again, where you have a terrorist organization like ISIS controlling territory like it did once in the past. But unfortunately, we're completely out of time on this segment. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Sanjay Meston, Dr. Wael Awad, on Syria, this burning crisis in this proxy war battleground that this once prosperous West Asian country seems to have become.